Hello, set apart saints. This is David, and in this video, I'm going to talk about how all roads lead to Rome and that all the world is a stage. In previous videos, I've shown you how the Jesuit Superior General was used to fulfill the first four vial judgments, primarily on France, because it's the main country which had revered, mark on the forehead, and obeyed, mark on the right hand, their actions, the Antichrist beast Pope's order to kill the saints. Then the general used Napoleon's army to take the Pope captive in 1798, removing him from civil authority, ending his 1260-year reign of power, fulfilling the fifth vial which was on the seat of the beast. Since then, the false prophet Jesuit Superior General, who rose to power out of the earth, out of the land of the Vatican, has controlled the Roman beast kingdom. The earth beast narrative in Revelation 13 points to two leaders, two horns, who lead the Roman beast kingdom in the end times: the false prophet Jesuit Superior General and the Antichrist beast Pope. They pretend to be priests of Messiah, like a lamb, but they really serve Satan, the dragon. So it's fitting that the so-called Society of Jesus in Rome is really the Society of Satan. This is a hallmark of the general, to use innocent-sounding names for organizations that have an evil agenda. He is the general of an army which fights against Messiah and his saints and seeks to control the whole world. Napoleon declared about the Jesuits: "The Jesuits are a military organization, not a religious order. Their chief is a general of an army, not the mere father abbot of a monastery. And the aim of this organization is power. Power in its most despotic exercise. Absolute power, universal power, power to control the world by the volition of a single man. Jesuitism is the most absolute of despotisms, and at the same time, the greatest and most enormous of abuses." You can watch the Earth Beast of Revelation 13 and the False Prophet video for the detailed explanation. When the Black Pope took control of the Vatican, he couldn't rule it openly, as people understood the evil nature of the Society of Satan. So the Black Pope uses the White Pope as the spokesman to gather the world under their authority. The general took control of the Vatican in 1798, but he worked for many years beforehand to take power over countries. This is why the Society of Satan was kicked out of many countries, including Catholic ones. Look at this quote from Michelangelo Tamburini, who was the general from 1706 to 1730. He said, "See, sir, from this chamber I govern not only to Paris, but to China, not only to China, but to all the world, without anyone knowing how I do it." The general has used the Rothschilds to steal the wealth of European nations using market manipulation. Jesuit missions to China started in the 16th century. They inserted their black-robed priests into the country under the guise of service and ministry, but they covertly worked to take control of the nation. The Society of Satan has controlled China for many centuries, and we can see the huge role that China plays in manufacturing and weapons development, etc. So when you see a headline today about threats from China, it's controlled by the general in Rome who uses it to promote his agenda. All the world is a stage, and all roads lead to Rome. Since 1798, the general has worked systematically to take power over most countries in the world, over their money supply, over the government, the media. He had Nathan Rothschild take control of the British economy when they spread lies that the British had been defeated by Napoleon, which caused a crash in the value of British government bonds. While panicked English investors sold up their life savings, Rothschild bought up their bonds for pennies on the dollar. When official news of the British victory at Waterloo arrived, the English bond market skyrocketed, and so did Nathan Rothschild's wealth. People learned about the Rothschild schemes, so to avoid publicity, the Rothschilds made themselves invisible by creating and hiding behind two front companies, J.P. Morgan and Kuhn and Loeb. This has been the pattern for centuries, that they use front corporations to hide who controls them. By 1823, the Rothschilds were guardians of the entire papal treasure and took over the financial operations of the Roman Catholic Church. The Society of Satan took control of Russia after the Khazar Jews infiltrated the country after being pushed out of Khazaria. This led to the Bolshevik Revolution, when tens of millions of Orthodox Christians were killed. So when you see a headline today about threats from Russia, Putin is controlled by the general in Rome who uses Russia to promote his agenda. All the world is a stage, and all roads lead to Rome. People proclaim that the Rothschilds are at the top of the power pyramid, but they're servants of the general in Rome. They're Khazar Jews, Edomites, who are Jews by religion, not blood. They use the satanic sorcery of the Egyptian Kabbalah to steal, kill, and destroy. In Messiah's letter to the church era of Philadelphia, which existed from 1798 to about 1900, Messiah pointed to the rise of power of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. You can watch my The Kings of the East in the 6th vial of Revelation 16 video to get the full explanation. In regard to the Middle East, the general in Rome controls the major countries such as Saudi Arabia to control oil prices, to make it tax on enemy. He controls Zionist Israel through the Rothschild family. You can watch the Invasion of Gog and Magog video for the full explanation. The general controls almost every nation in the Middle East. They took control of Iraq and Afghanistan via Bush Jr.'s contrived wars on countries that had nothing to do with 9/11. So when you see posturing between these countries in the Middle East about war, it's all theater. Now, having said that, I believe that Iran is not controlled by them and Syria is not controlled by them, which is why they're being demonized in the media, which is why there's been attacks on them to overthrow them. Other than that, all the other countries are controlled by the general in Rome. There will be a war when the general deems it advantageous to his plan. Since the general and his society of Satan couldn't rule openly, they had to create many front organizations to take control of the world, which hides their power and causes people to blame the other people groups. They use the front organization's lower levels as a disguise of sorts, as these people don't understand the beliefs and plans of the people at the top of the power pyramid. What I want you to notice is that he's created many front organizations with high-level leaders, mid-level leaders, and then members at the bottom. They all provide a function to the organization, but the lower levels have no idea what is the agenda of the high-level leaders. And the general sits at the capstone of every organization. The Society of Jesus is a perfect example. At the top is the general. Below him are provincial leaders who serve Satan, and they know the full plan. Below them are different levels of Jesuits who carry out high-level agendas, who know some of what's going on, but not all. And below them are Society of Jesus priests who perform good works in their community, who are oblivious to the leader's evil agenda. They are used to preach Roman Catholicism, which causes people to believe in a false salvation message and to revere and obey the Antichrist beast popes. The world sees the good works of the lower-level Jesuits and the priests dressed in black, proclaiming to be working for Jesus, so that they would never suspect the Jesuit superior general in Rome as being the enemy of mankind. The Society of Satan has spread around the world, whether as a priest taking confessions or as a crypto-Jesuit businessman or politician or religious leader, gathering intel for their general, which is used to take control of countries. The priests of every parish and in every country are the kingpins of this web of spying, regularly reporting to their bishops every item of interest shared in the confessional. In turn, the bishop to his archbishop, the archbishop to the cardinal, and the cardinal to the general. It's how he keeps his eye on the whole world. But the intelligence gathering extends way beyond the organization of Society of Satan priests. The general used Adam Weishaupt to create the Bavarian Illuminati. Weishaupt began his formal education at age 7 at a Jesuit school. He became a Jesuit professor of Vatican canon law, a position held exclusively by the Society of Jesus. On May 1st, 1776, Weishaupt founded the Bavarian Illuminati. It's interesting that the U.S. $1 bill has 1776 on it, along with Illuminati symbols such as the pyramid with the all-seeing eye, and the motto, which points to the New World Order. They infiltrated Freemasonry to find like-minded people that they can use for their agenda, and to be a massive front organization. Freemasonry is a pyramid organization of learning their secrets through degrees of illumination. The people at the highest degrees know that they are serving the general and Satan, and they understand the agenda of pushing the world into the one-world government. But even the top Freemasons have been deceived into believing that their actions are for the good God, who they are told is Lucifer, which helps them justify killing Messiah's saints. So here's a basic pyramid. On the left is the York Rite path. So there's 13 levels that take you to the top. On the right is the Scottish Rite path, 33 degrees of Freemasonry. So on the pyramid are people with various enlightenment levels who carry out the general's agenda but don't know the whole plan. On the lower levels are many people who are Masons for business and social reasons. They're oblivious to the evil plans of the leaders at the top levels. The world sees them as decent people, including some Christians who are Freemasons, so they dismiss that Freemasonry is evil. Here's a meme that shows all the world's a stage. The Jesuit order writes the script. The highest degrees of Masonry operate the lights, the camera, and the action. The Society of Satan has succeeded in establishing the largest worldwide network of schools and universities, with many well-known alumni from places like Georgetown University, which was established shortly after the founding of the USA. The Society of Satan established over 700 colleges and universities across Europe by 1749, with another 100 in the rest of the world. But in the aftermath of the Jesuit suppressions of the 18th and 19th centuries, most of these schools were closed. This tells you how evil the Society of Satan is. Today, there are 189 Society of Satan colleges and universities, including Boston College, Creighton, Gonzaga, Marquette, Santa Clara, and Xavier, to name a few. They've taken control of universities such as Yale, Princeton, and Harvard, which were established as Protestant Christian schools, but now they teach the liberal doctrine of the Society of Satan. This is how they've molded the thinking of many famous world leaders and produced generations of political and religious leaders who are favorable to the general, to the Roman Catholic Church, and their agenda. They control the educational system, which hides true history and indoctrinates the minds of children with their ideology. They use college fraternities to find like-minded people who will serve their agenda, which they promote and illuminate with knowledge. An example is the evil Skull and Bones Society at Yale. Both Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. were members. Bush Sr. pointed to a big idea, the New World Order, into 1,000 points of light. The lights that he spoke about are the illumined ones of the secret societies. And there are books written about the following organizations, but I mention them here to help you see how grand the control of the General of Rome is. Vatican Knighthoods under the Sovereign Military Order of Malta include the Knights of Malta, the Knights of Columbus, the Order of the Garter, the Order of St. John of Jerusalem, the Order of St. Sylvester, the Pilgrim Society, the Priory of Sion, the Rhodes Scholars, and many more. They control the Aspen Institute, the Brookings Institute, the Bilderberg Group, the Bohemian Club, the Club of Rome, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Hoover Institute, the Hudson Institute, Opus Dei, the Rand Corporation, the Shriners, the Trilateral Commission, and many more. And notice how many of them have innocent-sounding names to hide their evil agenda. Just like the Society of Jesus is a nice-sounding name, but the leaders are of the Society of Satan. Through these organizations, the general controls the world's political, financial, and business leaders. They serve in an intelligence-gathering capacity, meaning that the leaders report to the general about what's going on which might endanger the general and the society. They take blood oaths to protect the secret knowledge, and they all act as an internal spy agency, meaning they rat out people in the organization who have gone astray. Those who betray them are taken out. They also use blackmail on many leaders by getting videos of them performing vile acts at places like Epstein Island. Then they can use this evidence to get people to promote their agenda. They also use wealth to both entice people and to trap them so that they further their plans. Back in 1870, in the book History of Protestantism, James Aiken Wiley says, "From his chamber in Rome, the eye of the general surveys the world. To the furthest bounds, there is nothing done in it which he does not see. There is nothing spoke in it which he does not hear. To the general of the Jesuits, the world lies naked and open. He sees by 1,000 eyes. He hears by 1,000 ears. And when he has a behest to execute, he can select the fittest agent from an innumerable host, all of whom are ready to do his bidding. Every year, a list of the houses and members of the society, with the name, talents, virtues, and failings of each, is led before the general. In addition to the annual report, every one of the 37 provincials must send him a monthly report of the state of his province. He must inform him minutely of its political and ecclesiastical condition. Every superior of a college must report once every 3 months. The heads of houses of residence and the house of novitiates must do the same. In short, from every quarter of his vast dominions come a monthly and tri-monthly report. In the book, The Jesuits, Their Moral Maxims and Plots Against Kings and Nations and Churches, James Aiken Wiley describes the general. He is thus able intently to watch the progress of the battle at all points, and to know what is going on in every part of the field. What an organization, shape monstrous and dreadful. Its dark wings stretch out to the ends of the earth, and its iron strength gathered up in its one autocratic head at Rome. To counter the Reformation in Germany, the Jesuits, under Guise, took university seats, and colleges such as Ingolstadt soon fell entirely under their influence. They infiltrated governments and schools to shape the minds of the youth, especially the sons of Protestants in their schools. Those quotes are from the 19th century. The advance in technology since then has given the general much greater intel gathering. It was Sun Tzu who wrote in The Art of War, "The general sees all, hears all, does all, and yet in appearance is not involved with anything." This is the hallmark of the Jesuit superior general. The all-seeing eye on the U.S. $1 bill depicts the eye of the general, using the U.S. to gather intel and spy on the world. Abbot Leon, an ex-Jesuit, said, "There are in the central house at Rome huge registers wherein are inscribed the names of all the important persons, friends or enemies. It is the most gigantic biographical collection that has ever been formed. When it is required to act in any way upon an individual, they open the book and become immediately acquainted with his life, his character, his qualities, his defects, his projects, his family, his friends, and his most secret acquaintances." The Society of Satan covertly spies on people via their megacorporations. They prop up a front man with a nice-sounding story to make it seem like it's an organic entity to hide their power. They've used Jeff Bezos and Amazon to make billions selling direct, which has caused many medium and small businesses to fail. They use it to track what you buy and know where you live. A big part of their profits comes from the Amazon cloud servers, which many companies use to host their data, which allows the Society of Satan to monitor the information. It's a nice-sounding story that Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook while at college, but it's a DARPA project that used to be called LifeLog. So it ended on February 4th, 2004, and Facebook started on the same day. They created Facebook to gather intel on people, who they're related to, who they're friends with, what do they like and promote, what do they say about current topics, such as gun control and the CVVX. They use it to censor what people see and to fact-check posts to mislead people. The Society of Satan has used Bill Gates of Microsoft and Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak to develop computer operating systems, which gives them access to the data on every Windows and Apple computer through backdoors. Larry Page and Sergey Brin created Google to track what people search for and to manipulate what information they find. They offer free Gmail to read your messages. They offer free storage to read your files and scan your pictures. They're using Elon Musk as the spokesman for companies which will enslave mankind. Do we really believe that one man can direct all of these companies? SpaceX, Tesla Motors, Starlink, SolarCity, The Boring Company, Hyperloop, OpenAI, and Neuralink. He's putting tens of thousands of satellites in space under the guise of providing the internet to people around the world. But it's really the Skynet tracking system for their technocratic socialist AI control. The Boring Company creates underground tunnels around the USA that link underground military bases and major airports like DIA. OpenAI and Neuralink develop artificial intelligence and a human interface to the AI system. They will be used by the Society of Satan to control people in their social, technocratic AI world. The Society of Satan took control of the Reuters and Associated Press news services to control what the news says about them and their front organizations. The Society of Satan controls the major news networks. They position Fox News, which is run by Rupert Murdoch, as the conservative truth tellers. And though they tell you some truth, they're hiding the major issues that are taking place. Then they use CNN to create over-the-top crazy narratives, to deceive people, and to infuriate truthers. People in North Korea and China understand that the news is propaganda, but many Americans fail to see it. Brzezinski, who was a national security advisor to Jimmy Carter, said, "Shortly, the public will be unable to reason or think for themselves. They'll only be able to parrot the information they've been given on the previous night's news." Interestingly, Mika is on MSNBC, and she said, "It's our job to control what people think." William Casey, former CI director, said, "We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false." I would say that they have accomplished their goal. The Society of Satan uses controlled opposition groups, like Anonymous, to give you some truth, but ultimately deceive you. The twisted irony is that they do it while using the mask of Guy Fawkes, a Jesuit. The Society of Satan uses QAnon to cause people to believe that Trump is going to oppose the deep state and make America great again. Q is a psychological operation that's meant to distract and divide the truth movement. It's attractive to people because it reveals some truth and gives them a false sense of hope. It convinces them to trust the plan and hold their breath while they wait for some magical hero to ride in and save the day. They use controlled opposition people like Alex Jones, Michael Adams, David Icke, and others to give you lots of truth to make it seem like they're opposing the evil ones. But they always point to the liberals, the deep state, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, George Soros, and Bill Gates. And though those people are playing an evil role, blaming them serves to deflect blame away from the general in Rome. The Society of Satan understands that the best way to control the opposition is to lead it themselves. They use whistleblowers like Julian Assange of WikiLeaks and Edward Snowden to proclaim the evil things that they're doing, as they have a code of ethics, if you will, that they tell the truth what they're doing so that they're not accountable. The elites tell us through their books and publications, movies, and news releases what they're doing. This is called revelation of the method. If you are too stupid to recognize it for what it is, that is your problem from their point of view. It's a form of ritual mocking of the victim. They even use people like Eric Phelps to expose the Jesuits, to proclaim their crimes against humanity, to gain your trust, and then, ultimately, they deceive you. They use prophecy fulfillment teachers to proclaim their false futuristic narrative to mislead you. There are some really slick YouTube channels which have millions of subscribers who teach the false futuristic explanation so that people's minds are programmed with them. Revelation 16:19 says, "And the great city was divided and fell into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell." The great city represents the Roman beast kingdom. It's pointing to the false prophet Jesuit superior general, the end times Roman beast kingdom leader, controlling the world through 3 city-state corporations, which form one interlocking empire called the Empire of the City. You can watch the 7th file of Revelation and the Battle of Armageddon video for the full explanation. But the summary is that the City of London, which is not part of the greater City of London, but it's a city-state corporation, is used to control the financial and trade organizations of the world. Vatican City is a city-state corporation that's used to control the religious and political leaders of the world. And the District of Columbia is a city-state corporation, not part of the USA, and it's used to control the militaries and intelligence agencies of the world. These 3 countries have their own government and laws and are accountable to nobody but the general in Rome. The District of Columbia flag has 3 red stars, representing the 3 city-state corporations of the Roman beast empire. The FBI and CIA operate under the guise of protecting Americans, but their primary role is to identify and eliminate threats to the general and his leaders. DC has military bases worldwide, not to protect Americans' freedom, but to control the world and to overthrow people who don't bow down to the general's authority. In this image, we see Catholic Joe Biden, Catholic John Bowner, who went to Jesuit Xavier University, Jesuit Pope Francis, between 2 fascist symbols, which proclaim Rome's authority in the U.S. House of Representatives. The list of Catholics who work for the agenda of Rome in D.C. is extensive, but believers think that Christians are representing them. Bill Clinton graduated from Jesuit Georgetown University. Donald Trump went to Jesuit Fordham University. 2 of his children graduated from Georgetown. The majority of Supreme Court justices are Catholics, which is why they rule in favor of the agenda of the general, not conservative Americans. Every president is controlled by the general, who controls the city-state corporation of the District of Columbia. If they disobey, they get taken out like JFK. Voting has been rigged for a long time, and they alternate parties to keep both sides content. So we had Bush Sr., Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, Trump, and now Biden. It's all theater. Please stop believing in supposed Christian presidents. They proclaim these things to mislead people. They serve the general, the god of mammon, and maybe even Satan himself. Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. are evil to the core. They carried out many wars against innocent people, causing many Americans to be killed during their contrived wars, and stealing away Americans' rights under the guise of fighting against a contrived enemy. I understand that people want to believe that Trump is a good guy, a Christian, who is fighting against the deep state on their behalf, but he's an egomaniac who is playing a role, and his fruit stinketh. Trump's pastor was 33rd degree Freemason Norman Vincent Peale. Heretic Paul White was appointed by Trump as chair of his Evangelical Advisory Board. When asked in an interview about God and forgiveness, Trump said, "I'm not sure I have ever asked God's forgiveness. I don't bring God into that picture." The foundation of our faith is to admit that we're sinners in need of redemption by a Savior, who the Heavenly Father sent to atone for our sins with His blood as the spotless Lamb. To say that He's never prayed for forgiveness tells you all you need to know about Trump being a Christian. That's not judgment. That's just discernment. Please stop believing in this man as he says one thing, but then does another. He said that he was going to drain the swamp, but then who did he put in power? Henry Kissinger, a Knight of Malta, CFR. John Bolton, Knight of Malta, CFR. Rudy Giuliani, Knight of Malta, New York mayor during 9/11. Stephen Mnuchin from Skull and Bones and Goldman Sachs. Wilbur Ross, a 25-year-long Rothschild banker. They had Trump play the role of the Christian patriot who caused liberals to hate him and Christians to increase persecution. But he's the one who set up the CVVX fast track and put the USA into a state of emergency, which did away with constitutional rights in the name of public safety. He is the one who pushed 5G, which is for the socialism technocratic control system. He set the stage for red flag gun laws by saying, "I like taking guns away early. Take the guns first. Go through due process second." That violates our constitutional rights. And though he didn't pass a law, his statement led to over 20 states passing red flag gun laws so they can justify a narrative against you, take away your guns, and then have you go to court to defend getting them back. And they did that all under the guise of many false flag gun events. And now Biden is playing the role of the absent-minded goof so that they can blame his foolish decisions for increased prices, giving billions of dollars of weapons to empower the Taliban in Afghanistan, pushing the CV mandates that are causing worker shortages, which are creating product shortages. People blame Biden for inflation, but it's the result of the Fed printing trillions of dollars out of thin air, which devalues our money. So they need a scapegoat. Look at how presidents have dropped tens of thousands of bombs every year, how they use the military to attack other countries, how they put us into massive debt, and how they've systematically taken away more of our rights. Debating about what political parties and leaders are doing misses the mark, as they both play for the same team. They just have different roles. The president is the leader of the city-state corporation of the District of Columbia, who works for the interest of the general in Rome while feigning to represent the American people. When the evil ones have an agenda to push, such as LGBT, gun control, or the CVVX, they have their media outlets proclaiming it through many talking heads. News networks are on 24/7 to program our minds. They have their controlled politicians proclaim the agenda. They have their company CEOs implement their plan with products and advertising that support it. They have their controlled actors and musicians who've sold their soul proclaim their agenda to get fans to go along with it. Look at the CV agenda and you see their tactics of deflection. They blame China, Fauci, the liberals' agenda to push us into a socialist country, the deep state, Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum. It's all of those things as they're part of the narrative which brought it about, but they all serve the agenda of the Society of Satan in Rome. For the saints to win the war, we have to stop debating about the puppets and focus on the puppet master, the false prophet, Jesuit superior general in Rome. We have to preach the gospel and expose the enemy's many deceptions. In the next video, I'll talk about how we gain the victory in the end times battle. That's all for today. I love y'all. Shalom.